All right, guys, what is happening? Welcome to Games and Graps Nitrous Radio. My name is Sonny G, and I guess what I should do is start by explaining exactly what this is. So, between, sort of from the back end of 1994 through to maybe towards the end of 97, I'd stopped watching wrestling, basically. I don't know why. I don't know sort of what instigated it. I can't remember. It was a long time ago now. But yeah, I basically stopped watching wrestling. So I missed out on a lot of stuff between those years, including a lot of the good stuff that sort of happened in WCW around that time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going back to 1996 and we're going to work through the next few years of WCW. All right, so from 1996, and we're just going to keep going. We're just going to keep going. We're going to do 2 episodes of Nitro per week. I'm only going to do one this week because so much happened on that first episode, the January 1st, 1996 episode of Nitro, that it's going to be difficult to cover anything else, right? So we're going to do 2 episodes of Nitro per podcast. We're going to do a separate podcast for the pay-per-views. And yeah, we're going to see some good stuff. We're going to see some bad stuff. And I can't wait. I'm super excited for this. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It's something I've wanted to do for a while, but I've decided to pull the trigger on it for this year. So let's just get going, right? This is the 1st of January 1996 episode of WCW Nitro. We've got Eric Bischoff, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Mongo on commentary. And I just want first of all, I love the Nitro set. I've always loved the Nitro setup from around that time. It takes me back to playing WCW NWO Revenge on the N64. I just love that setup. The arena's packed, the fans are going mental. It's just, and everybody just feels so excited by what's going on in WCW. They're very much sort of ahead of the WWF at this point definitely in terms of product, because WCW have got a very sort of wrestling based product, whereas the WWF at this point were, very character driven. It was very cartoony and just heading in a crap way. And maybe that's why I stopped watching, but I don't know. But at the top of the show, Eric Bischoff basically announces that Ric Flair is going to defend the WCW Championship against Hulk Hogan. And that's one hell of a main event to kick off your year. So Ric Flair, to go back and do a bit of research, Ric Flair beat Macho Man Randy Savage at Starrcade 1995 to win the WCW Championship. Macho Man pretty much blames the Four Horsemen, who at this point consist of Ric Flair, Arn Anderson, Brian Pillman, and Chris Benoit, which leads to the first match of the night, which is the Macho Man, and which, by the way, this is a banger of an opening match for weekly TV. So it's the Macho Man Randy Savage taking on the Enforcer Arn Anderson. I mean, obviously this is all new to me. So it was crazy to me that this was the first match on the first Nitro of a new year, so 1996. Macho Man against Arn Anderson, and you know what? It was good, man. It was so good. Arn attacked Macho, before the bell even sounded. It was a super quick start, and yeah, they were just really going at it. Arn Anderson eventually sort of took control, started working the arm of the Macho Man, and by the way, he hit a move that you don't really see anymore. He hit a single arm DDT perfectly as well, by the way. I love a single arm DDT, and it was really cool to see that. Another thing that I wanted to point out here is Macho Man's selling is exquisite. It's so good, and he's selling like a champ. He's selling that arm, And, Arn just kept going for it, and Macho Man just sells it, sells the anguish on his face, and it's just so great to watch, And it feels like such a small thing, because obviously you should be selling the moves, but Macho Man really selling the moves and, selling the anguish and the pain that Arn Anderson is inflicting to his arm, and it's awesome. One point in the match, Macho Man tries to come back, again selling the arm with the punches, and just very quickly, Arn Anderson goes for a punch, Macho Man ducks, and Arn Anderson hits a DDT, and again, it just looked so good. So good. At one point, there's a ref bump, Arn Anderson pulls out some nooks from his tights, it all goes awry, Macho Man gets the nooks, hits Arn Anderson, slides the nooks back into Arn Anderson's bracts, and 1, 2, 3, Macho Man wins. Cool start to Nitro for 1996. During this match, there was a bit of commentary which really made me laugh. And it was Eric Bischoff saying that the C in WCW stands for commitment to the fans. So from now on, I'm just going to call it World Commitment Wrestling, because the C stands for commitment. After the match, Chris Benoit and Brian Pillman come down. Macho Man sort of leaves. And it all just sort of gets a little bit weird and messy. Cuts the commercial, and then the next match is actually going to be Chris Benoit against Lord Steven Regal. So Steven Regal comes out, gets his entrance. He's got his, he's got all that stuff out that makes him Regal. All right. Then Benoit has an entrance. Don't know why he didn't just stay in the ring. It is what it is. He gets an entrance. It's all good. Exquisite mullet, by the way, on Chris Benoit. Just an unbelievable mullet. And he's looking in incredible shape as well. I feel like he didn't really age throughout his entire run up to the very end. He just looks exactly the same all the way through. Obviously, the only thing that changed really was his hair. Got rid of the mullet. Yeah. But enough talk about Benoit. This was, as you would expect, just a real technical masterclass. Both men just so good at the little things. Just the little intricacies. Like just simple stuff like Regal hitting a drop toe hold, then floating over, hitting a butterfly suplex as well. And just the transitions between the two, the way they went back and forth, it was really, really good. And it also showed how well all round both these guys really are or were. Because they went for the technical stuff. Then, you got Regal hitting headbutts and big ground and pound type stuff. Chris Benoit obviously did a bit of high flying as well, and went for the diving headbutt during the match. Missed, but still went for it nonetheless. And it was just, another interesting bit of commentary here. Apparently Regal wrestled in the tar pits of India. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure whichever one of the three commentators who said it knows what that means. But that's what it is. Regal wrestled in the tar pits of India. Yeah. So Benoit missed with a headbutt from the top. He also did a really perfect German suplex. I'm not sure there was many people in the industry, especially around that time, that did a German suplex better than Chris Benoit. Another really cool moment in the match. William Regal had Chris Benoit up, looked like he was going for a tombstone. Benoit reversed it. William Regal's holding his arms out. And then at the last minute when Chris Benoit jumps and hits the tombstone, William Regal sort of wraps his arms around Benoit's body so he's not breaking his neck, basically. But, that was so cool. I mean, one thing I will say about this Nitro, or, probably WCW in general at this time, these matches have big moves. They're not just sort of hitting Irish whips and chops and it's just striking. There's so much variety going on. I mean, I'm going to cover this a bit later on when we talk about one of the other matches. But, hitting a tombstone and that being, just a move in the middle of a match that doesn't even, end in a pinfall. The WWF at this point, the stuff that they would do was so simple in comparison to what I'm even seeing on just this first Nitro from '96. And it's awesome to see. I mean, WCW really changed the game in terms of what was shown on weekly wrestling television. The end of the match was really weird. And it's something that I've actually never seen before. I don't know what you guys think. I mean, I might be wrong. It might be something that happened frequently. I don't know. But basically, the ending was Regal was outside the ring. Chris Benoit went for like a vaulting body press. So he vaulted himself over the top rope. Regal moved out of the way. Benoit hits the mat, basically. Regal rolls him back in the ring, pins him 1, 2, 3. I've never, ever seen anything like that before. For a victory to be picked up just off of somebody missing a move, or especially a body press to the outside of the ring. It's, it looked cool, and, it made sense. I mean, it would hurt. If you vaulted over the ropes, missed, there's every chance that you could be pinned off it. But it's something that I'd never seen before, and I found it took me back a little bit, because it's something that I wasn't expecting at all. But yeah, it was a really good match and with a really interesting finish. And yeah, I liked it. I really liked this episode of Nitro so far. So after this, Brian Pillman, member of the Four Horsemen, comes down to the ring and he's fuming, basically. Mean Gene's in the ring as well. He's the interview guy for basically everything. On the ramp interviews, in the ring interviews. Yeah, all of it. So Pillman's basically not happy that Arn Anderson lost in the first match of the night. Benoit lost in the second match of the night. He basically is saying that the Four Horsemen should be dominating. Because of weird, has like a weird back and forth with Benoit. Says something about like them being in a limousine and being, the Dom Perignon is popping and being surrounded by naked women. Okay, cool. Arn Anderson then gets the mic because Mean Gene's sort of hurrying him along. And Arn Anderson basically is seemingly disagreeing with the way that Brian Pillman is trying to conduct business within the Four Horsemen. He said that they do their business, they get out, and then, that's how it should be. They should just leave it. But they decimated Paul Orndorff before, and Arn Anderson didn't really like that. So there's a little bit of dissension going on between the Four Horsemen. Then, out of nowhere, the Dungeon of Doom come out, and they're dragged away by the Giant. Sure. Brutus Beefcake's got his face painted, and he's playing some sort of character that doesn't really know where he is. I don't get it. But, okay, look, whatever. Okay. And then the Giant is obviously paired up with them, and okay, it is what it is. Cool. This is a banger of a card. This is why basically I said that I was only going to cover this episode on this episode, if you understand what I mean. From next week onwards, we'll start doing 2 episodes of Nitro per pod. So this next match, we've got a tag team match. Sting, who's still Surfer Sting at this point, teaming up with Lex Luger against the Super Assassins. Now, I had to Google the Super Assassins because I was curious as to who they were. Now, if you've not seen the Super Assassins before, they come out in lucha masks with an S on the forehead. They have a black t-shirt with an S on it, and they wear black tights that have super down the side. It's absolutely terrible. It's an awful, awful gimmick, right? And so, yeah, I Googled who they were, and it turns out it's the Powers of Pain. So the Warlord and the Barbarian. And I was shocked. Why have them under masks? I don't get it. Maybe it's going to play out over time and we'll see them as Warlord and Barbarian or whatever. I don't know. But it's, it felt like a weird gimmick for these two big guys who, could really dominate matches and are already known to people to just be under, I don't know. It's weird, just under masks. I don't get it. But hey, is what it is. So yeah, Sting comes out, absolutely ripped. Same as Luger, massively over the pair of them. And it was a pretty good match, The Super Assassins were in control of Sting for quite a while, doing some pretty cool tag team moves. At one point, they did a suplex into a spear off the top rope, which I thought was cool. And again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier on about big moves being used just as general moves in the match. I really like that. And it feels like it's quite an old school thing to happen because it doesn't really happen anymore. There's a powerbomb just hitting the match, just, folding Sting up. And it was cool. And it's just cool to see. I like the way that wrestling is portrayed in these matches. They're actually having matches that feel big and feel important. And so, yeah, I mean, the Super Assassins, terrible name, terrible gimmick, terrible look, awful. They're pretty much dominating Sting. And eventually, Sting, after receiving a powerbomb, moves out of the way of a diving headbutt, which then gives him the opportunity to make the hot tag for Luger, who comes steaming in. Also, it's worth pointing out that the commentary have no idea who's who in the Super Assassins. I'm assuming they just don't have names because they keep going, and Lex Luger hits a big forearm on the Super Assassin. And the Super Assassin, he's in the corner. It was, I don't know why, it just really made me laugh. But that's what this podcast is going to be. It's going to be me giving my observations on this period of WCW. So yeah, Luger's in, he's, doing all the hot tag type of stuff. Then he goes for the torture rack on Super Assassin 1, I guess. Super Assassin 2 is real close. Like he's on the ring apron and could basically come in and break the torture rack up. But instead of this, he comes into the ring, still really close to Luger and Super Assassin 1, who is very much locked in the torture rack. And Sting has clearly missed his cue, right? So Super Assassin 2, he sort of staggers back a bit in the corner and, waits for Sting to eventually turn up, which he does. So Sting's laying a beating down on Super Assassin 2. Luger then moves his way into the middle of the ring. Torture rack still applied to Super Assassin number 1. Sting then hits the Scorpion Deathlock on Super Assassin 2. Double submission going on in the ring. Ref rings the bell. Sting and Luger win to the surprise of nobody at all. But, it was a fine match. It was okay. It showcased both teams. It put the Super Assassins over. It showed that they could, work well as a tag team, despite the terrible gimmick, despite the terrible name, and despite the terrible ring gear. They could do a job. But obviously, they're not going to beat the super over face team of Sting and Lex Luger. Now, the commentary, again, it's worth noting during this match, we're sort of talking about could Sting and Lex Luger coexist as a team? So we'll keep an eye out on that over the next few weeks and see what happens. So Mean Gene's back. This time he's on the ramp. So he's just basically swapping positions during the course of the show, right? So Mean Gene's on the ramp and he's talking and he says he's expecting Jimmy Hart, who eventually does appear from the back. And he's basically cutting a promo on Hogan and how so basically Jimmy Hart turns heel. And he says he's only going to align himself with winners. And also the Giant comes out as well. And obviously at this point, the gimmick is that the Giant is the son of Andre the Giant. So He's the son of Andre the Giant. The Giant. Cool. Okay. So yeah, Jimmy Hart cuts his promo about being a heel, and he just aligns himself with winners. And then the Giant grabs the microphone, and you can tell at this point that he's not really comfortable cutting promo, because he's basically just bellowing into the microphone, cutting a promo on Hogan, and it cuts to a clip from the December 18th episode of Nitro, where Hogan cost the Giant the match against Macho Man Randy Savage. He's swinging a chair and beating people up and doing all this sort of stuff. So the Giant finishes cutting his promo. Mean Gene says that he didn't understand anything that the Giant said. That the promo's just over. Jimmy Hart and the Giant go to the back, and that's it. So the Giant and Hogan, they're going to work a program, I'm sure. So I look forward to that. Next thing up, Slim Jim ad. Hell yeah. Very short, just a Macho Man Slim Jim ad. And it was awesome. And I love it. So 1996, it's unbelievable. Also, there's an advertisement for the upcoming Clash of Champions event, which is going to be on a Tuesday, 23rd of January 1996. So we'll build up from the Nitros that we're going to watch. So the big event that we're going to see is the Clash of the Champions. So that's going to be cool. Which brings us now to our main event, which is a mental main event for weekly TV. Ric Flair defending the WCW World Heavyweight Championship against Hulk Hogan. Now, the commentary are basically curious as to which Hulk Hogan is going to turn up. Is it going to be the madman that went crazy and got suspended? Or is it going to be good old American-made Hulk Hogan? We just don't know. It's a mystery. By the way, American-made absolutely slaps as an entrance theme. It's so good. I love Real American. I think Real American's a great entrance theme. But American-made is also a great entrance movie. Theme. Clearly I can't say words. Also worth noting here, Ric Flair is in black bracks with a red RF on them. Red knee pads. Okay, that's really good. That's fine, I can accept that. If he's got black boots to go with it. But no, he's wearing yellow boots. Why are you wearing yellow boots? Firstly, there's a kick clash with Hulk Hogan there, because Hogan is wearing yellow boots and red knee pads, the same as you. Doesn't make sense, poor choice, but it is what it is. The match goes on. The start of the match is very much the start of a Hogan match. This is very much a paint-by-numbers match as far as Hogan and Ric Flair getting their stuff in goes. Hogan starts the match with some shoulder barges, taking down Ric Flair. There was a cool bit actually around the start of the match when Ric Flair started to get into it a bit. Hogan went for an Irish whip, but Flair actually turned it into a wristlock takedown, which was actually really cool and looked great. There was also a part where Hulk hulks up really early in the match. So Ric Flair's going for chops, Hogan no-sells it, and he's like, does his usual punches and all that sort of stuff. Fine. Okay. You also get the classic, Ric Flair goes up to the top. He's never hitting a move from the top. Hogan grabs his knob, grabs it near his neck, throws him off. Standard stuff. The also classic Flair spot, Hogan Irish whip into the corner. Ric Flair goes over the ropes, staggers across the apron. Hogan comes along with the clothesline. Flair goes down. Standard stuff. Right. Now we're fighting on the outside of the ring. Ric Flair's getting his offense in, doing a few chops and all the usual stuff. Irish whips Hogan into the barricade. Hogan totally no-sells it, steams out, hits him with the clothesline. Good stuff. So we're back in the ring, and there's a great bit of commentary where Eric Bischoff meant to say cheap shot, but instead said cheap Shart. Amazing. Cheap Shart. So funny. I laughed really loud. Now, this was just me sitting here watching Nitro by myself, laughing at cheap Shart. Good times. Cheap Shart. So, Ric Flair at this point is working the leg of Hogan, obviously to build himself up for his figure 4 finish. Figure 4 eventually slapped on. Hogan reverses it because, of course, he does. After that, Jimmy Hart comes down. Hogan gets distracted, as does the ref. Ric Flair attacks Hogan from behind because, of course, he does. Ric Flair then takes advantage, does a hanging vertical suplex, which would take some serious strength because Hogan is not a small dude. Hogan's a big guy. So Flair's got him up there, hanging vertical suplex, sort of like what the British Bulldog used to do, which was cool. Flair goes for the pin. Hogan powers out, and now it's time for the real Hulk up. He does the usual stuff, hits the punches. Hogan does the pointing and says, "You." Yeah, all that stuff. Irish whip, big boot. Now Ric Flair lands at an awkward angle. So Hogan hits the ropes. So he doesn't go for the ropes where he would hit the leg drop from the side. He goes for the side of the ropes that would be like facing the hard cam. So then he has to change direction to come back and do the leg drop. Anyway, Hogan hits the leg drop. Then Arn Anderson is back. Because this match was never going to end normally, was it? Of course it wasn't. Absolutely not. Jimmy Hart distracts the ref. Arn Anderson hits Hogan with the brass knucks from earlier on in the night, if you remember rightly. Hogan no-sells that. Beats Arn Anderson up. And then he fucks himself here, Hogan, to be honest, because he grasses on Arn Anderson coming down and hitting him with the knucks, which then leads to the referee ringing for the bell, causing Ric Flair to be DQ'd, therefore keeping the championship, and Hogan just wins the match by DQ. Stupid. But okay, it's 1996. It's fine. So yeah, Hogan wins by DQ after grassing up Arn Anderson. Then chaos just ensues. The Horsemen come down, and then the Giant comes down with a wooden stool. Like an actual sit-on wooden stool. Not a steel chair that we're used to seeing in wrestling. Nope, not at all. A wooden stool. It's like they couldn't find anything else in the back. And the Giant has been like, "Oh, I need to take something down." And someone just went, "Oh, here you go. Do you want this stool?" Okay, yeah, no problem. So they come steaming down with the stool. It's just nuts. Macho Man comes out, takes the stool off the Giant. A brawling is going on all over the place. The Dungeon of Doom are back again. This time to drag away the Giant. So like a reversal of what happened earlier on in the night, where the Giant dragged away the Dungeon of Doom. The Dungeon of Doom are now dragging away the Giant. Beefcake, with his face painted up, is saying something weird. I don't know what he's saying. What also is weird about the Dungeon of Doom is Beefcake is basically wearing Beefcake gear, but he's playing a weird character where his face is painted. There's probably some context that I've definitely missed from 1995 WCW episodes. But look, it is what it is. Dungeon of Doom also can go in the same category as the Super Assassins as a terrible gimmick. All right? It's terrible. It just is. Anyway, we cut back to the ring, and Mean Gene is now in the ring. Because Mean Gene's got to be everywhere. Hogan and Macho Man basically put a challenge out to Ric Flair and Arn Anderson for a tag team match next week on Nitro, which, by the way, is a banger of a match. Hogan then cuts a bizarre Jack and the Beanstalk promo on the Giant, and then quotes Buzz Lightyear saying that he and Macho Man are going to go to infinity and beyond. I don't know what this means. I doubt Hogan knows what it means. Then he calls out the 4 horsemen and calls them the 4 blind mice. Hogan has obviously been sitting at home reading children's books before he came to Nitro that day. And then he calls the 4 horsemen Shetland ponies. What? Okay. The promo ends so weirdly. Macho Man says a bunch of words. Hogan says, "What you gonna do?" And then Hogan's music comes on. It was mental. It was just such a weird promo. So weird. But it was funny and it made me laugh. Then it cuts to the commentary team. Bischoff confirms the tag match for next week. They hit a ton of digs at the WWF, saying if you want to, but they basically just should have just said, if you want to watch shit product, go and watch WWF. But they were going on about, watch the other channel and all that kind of thing. And yeah, that was the end of that episode of Nitro. Bloody hell, what a roller coaster that first episode of Nitro for 1996 is. Jesus. More happened in that episode than almost any episode of Raw I've seen recently. Unreal. But you know what? I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot, actually. And just because of how mental it was, there was just so much going on. And I think crammed it into what I feel was a very short space of time. But it was fun. And I'm super excited now to crack on with these forthcoming episodes of Nitro as WCW builds to Clash of Champions, and which is like 3 weeks into January. So yeah, that's what this podcast is going to be. It's going to be me watching these episodes of Nitro for the very first time and the WCW pay-per-views for the very first time, and I'm just going to give my verdict on them. We're going to run through the shows and I'm going to just tell you what I think. And that's what this show's going to be. I hope you've enjoyed this. I guess it's a pilot episode of Nitrous Radio. But we're going to keep swinging with it. That's what we're going to keep doing. We're going to keep going. Next week, we'll be covering the next 2 episodes of Monday Nitro, which is going to be the January 8th and January 15th episode of Nitro. So I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be nuts. I'm so excited for it. Like I said earlier on in the podcast, there's going to be some really good stuff and some really terrible stuff, and I can't wait to experience it all for the very first time. So for now, this has been the pilot episode 1 of Games and Graps Nitrous Radio. I am Sonny G, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much, guys. Take it easy. Goodbye.